Good afternoon. Welcome to the last of our YPNU series for 2018. I want to thank every one of you who has been here through this whole journey with us and give a shout out to the associations that are out there joining us today. We really appreciate your participation, your questions. Remember, if you have any questions, we've got the live chat going, so just post your question and we will make sure to get it offered. Today's class is on utilizing video, and we have our experts and friends from Catapult Creative here to tell you everything you need to know about video. And we have from Catapult, Ryan Myers, Kelsey Bishop, and Rachel Jenkins. Also, we need to thank our sponsor who's made this class possible, Caliber Home Loans. So thank you, Caliber. And with that, we'll let you take it away. And again, don't forget to post your questions, and we'll talk to you at the end of the class.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. So this is the fourth class, the YPNU. And like Jennifer said, we're going over utilizing video. So we're talking about the basics of making a video for a listing or for client testimonials, etc. So this is the overview. So we're going to start with why you should use video. Part 2 is going to be video basics, and then we're actually going to walk you through creating your own listing video.
So something we did with this is obviously we're an agency and we have a lot of professional equipment, but we wanted to show you what you guys can do on your own with the equipment that you have, your phones, and any free apps that we can use. So we're going to talk about what makes a good video based on something that you've shot on your smartphone, as well as what kind of softwares can you use that are free and easy to use, and show you how to use them. So why are we going to be using video? Maybe you want to showcase your listings. Maybe you want to tell prospective customers why they should pick you. Or maybe you're trying to, as we talked about in social media, kind of own your area and talk about the neighborhood and make sure that you're the hub of knowledge on that area. So first we're going to talk about lighting. You're going to see that we've shot some bad examples on our smartphones to show you what not to do before we show you what to do. So we want to talk about, specifically with lighting when we're doing interviews, how does the light come on to the person that is talking, and how does that impact the video? So again, we've shot these on our smartphones to show you, kind of taking it back, are the agency's perspective, but on devices that you guys would be using yourselves. So you can see this is bad because the light's coming right in on her face, right? You can't see her at all. You don't want to shoot horizontally like this on a smartphone because then you've got this weird black space on either side that's going to show up on something that you're posting. Here, can you pause it? Mm-hmm. I want to go back. I also want to talk about the typography on here. You don't want to go wild with your fonts. You don't want it to be this crazy flashing font on the side like this. You want to have like a lower third. You want to say who you're talking to and give whatever their title is. So we've got Morgan B, Catapult Creative Employee. It's very clear. It's white. You can see it. You're not flashing weird weird fonts on the sides.
There's a ton of restaurants around here. In the summer, there's always food trucks out on the square. There's a ton of different options.
Again, with the lighting, the light is coming naturally directly onto her face. It's not coming from the side. The angle is, she's right in the middle in that rule of thirds, which we talked about with our social media class. We see the light come directly onto her face. She doesn't look too washed out. We can still see the background. And again, this is just shot with a window and an iPhone. So it's really easy to do, but the angles that you use are really important into making it a video that people want to watch. Okay. We want to talk about music selection because it's easy to pick music that doesn't necessarily go with your video. We picked kind of a funny example of music that very clearly does not go with this video, but we'll show you in after this about a video that does do that correctly. And again, a bad angle. You never want to shoot somebody from the chin, right? Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, and also how the music is overpowering their actual voice.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's the little things that all come together with the video that you have to look at.
Yeah, not good. You never want to cut somebody off like that either. You don't want to see the top of their head like that.
I love
And then we've brought back our good example. The volume is at a level that we can still hear what she's saying without it being overpowering. You want people to hear the music without cognizantly saying, I'm listening to music in the middle of this interview.
So now we go into actual pacing and transitions for video.
Something I tell people, whether it's interns that are working with us or anything, is a video should kind of feel like a song. Whatever music that you pick, the transitions should really match with that. You should be able to physically hear the beat of the music, and the transitions should match. So this is a video that we've done for a home builder, and we picked it because it's an example of the transitions completely match up with the music. You'll hear that on the beat of every song, there's a new shot. You also want to make sure that you're giving your audience time to read what's on the screen. So the rule of thumb is if you've already read it, if you can read it 2 times in the frame, then it's readable to someone who hasn't read it at all.
And another thing we want to point out, I know when you're doing a listing video for the MLS, you can't have any branding. But if it's for social media, obviously we have the website, the logo, and what they're actually seeing per shot.
If you want to go into more detail, kind of what the rules are with the MLS.
Yeah, so I know with the Dayton MLS, you can't have any branding or signage for the actual MLS videos, but when you have your social media pages, you can do all that stuff. So you can kind of showcase, okay, this is the garage, this is the kitchen, and obviously you want to have the call to action at the end, how to contact you, or for this instance, this was for Homerama. So our call to action was to obviously purchase tickets for the event.
Mm-hmm. Let's go through this video, just like some stills to show kind of some more lighting stuff. So like this, for instance, this is an easier shot because it's a white room, right? But still you've got the lighting is all natural in addition to the lights being on. I think something important when you're shooting houses is that the lights are on so that it doesn't look dark. You don't want to have to rely on the artificial light, but you want to make sure that you have a mixture of natural and artificial light in there. With this, obviously, we're shooting from the corner of the room. You want your space to look as big as it possibly can, always. Mm-hmm.
I had a question about the one you were showing earlier with speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Hold on, we have to get the mic for you. we forgot last time.
Thanks. So my question was on the one earlier. You had a speaker and there was background noise because she was out in public. How important do you think it is to run music in the background on something like that?
I would say almost always, because unless you've got a really serious topic, like for instance, if we're shooting something that's really serious, we don't want any kind of light music, then it's just the voice. But for the most part, you'll notice most interviews do have some sort of music behind them. Yeah. And there's a lot of free music that you can use too.
Yeah, and you can always, when there's a break, so let's say the B-roll, which is the footage of the home, you can always fade up the music and then fade it back down when the interviewee or the actor says something, and then fade it back up when it transitions.
Regarding music, it seems to me that if you have somebody talking on the screen, the music is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But the music would work well with the videos of the house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it depends. So obviously with this, you'll notice the music is very loud, right? It's music you could listen to by itself and go, yeah, that's music. With the interview, it's kind of like a real light, almost like tinkling of music, right? It doesn't feel like a full song. So you want something that's so light in the background that it's barely noticeable. I often tell people, if you're listening to an interview and you're like, wow, there's music on, that's not a good music choice. You want it to just fade into the background. Mm-hmm.
I understand that, but to me, when I was watching the lady talk, listening to her talk, I felt distracted by the background music. So I think the message is not the music, it's the person.
Yes.
And so I don't see unless there's some other reason, I don't see a big advantage for music when somebody's explaining something?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for that is that you want it to be consistent. So if you're going from an interviewee and then you have to turn it up, maybe they're a soft speaker, you might hear some of that background noise. The music helps soften that, like you brought up. But also you don't want to go straight from just someone talking to like music, like here it is. It's kind of just making it a little bit more consistent. So personal preference, you could turn it down a little bit lower so it's just really, really soft. But I think it's just kind of to keep it like, it's a steady one, like solid video rather than breaking it up.
Yeah, and it helps in pauses of speaking too. You know, every time you finish a sentence, there's a natural pause, which is good for your pacing. But sometimes when the music continues the whole way through, it helps soften those jarring stops of sentences. Let's go back to that blue room, because that's kind of this was a hard room to shoot, non-surprisingly, because the walls are blue. Do you remember if we had a professional light in for this, Ryan?
No, we did not.
We did not. So again, it's just angling the natural light so that it highlights what you can. You can never make this blue wall, you know, look really bright because it's a dark navy wall, but just kind of making sure that your light is highlighting the features of the room that you want it to.
And obviously, like with bathrooms, you always want to make sure that you're not in the shot off, because you know
Yeah.
you'll notice it after you've already shot it. Like, oh man, I could see myself in the reflection.
I think that about covers it.
We had a question on the live chat
Sure.
from Amber. How can you change a video to a URL so that it can be linked in the MLS? The answer that we gave her, but just so that everybody knows, it's always a good idea and a good reminder to have to, obviously when you're shooting a video, have a place for it to go. Whether that be on your social media page, on YouTube, on Vimeo, or any other type of video hosting software or website. And then what you would do is, depending on what MLS you're having, so let's use Dayton here for example, when you're putting a property into the MLS, there's going to be an area that says video URL. So if that's a YouTube link or whatever video service it is, that's where you would copy and paste that URL into that space. And again, like Ryan mentioned, here in Dayton specifically, for videos that are going out in the IDX feed, those could have to be unbranded videos. But anything that's going on your personal website, personal Facebook page, of course, you want to have branded with calls for action and stuff like that.
So filming a home. We wanted to do a quick example of this, again, on a smartphone in case you don't have a professional camera, to kind of talk about how to film a home on a smartphone in a way that isn't jarring, right? So you're filming from the side of the room like this, and when you're walking, you need to make sure you're doing it really steadily, which takes some practice, because otherwise you're going to see this jump in the footage.
And there are different tools or attachments you can have on your phone to where it's like a steady cam, to where it's like a stick and it keeps it stable. And there's actually add-ons for, I'm sure you guys have seen them, where it's like iPhone lenses, so it can make your shots look even cooler, it can make them more panoramic.
So with this, we just shot our office with the iPhone to kind of get that feeling across.
Yeah, and we actually did a mix of video and the use of stills, so you can still use your photographs and just have it like slowly zoom in, that gives it that motion.
Mm-hmm. So this is the still shot. Always starting at the corner of the room and then going out. And then, of course, including your call to action at the end.
And our office does not look like this normally. We're getting ready for our
Preparing for a
solstice
party.
party tomorrow. So, you want to go in this? This is the another example.
Yeah, we picked another GA White example to keep it consistent, and this is kind of putting those practices that we talked about with the iPhone into practice with a professional camera. So we wanted to give you, this is how you do it on an iPhone, and this is how you apply those onto using a professional camera if you have access to one. Ryan, turn it down. No. So with that, let's go back to the last like 5 seconds of that video, the last few seconds of that video. So when we talk about timing the music again, clearly we've got a lot of call outs because this is a home builder and they want to show all the different specs of their building. But at the end, we see how you want to really time your music so as the music is tapering off to the end, that's when your call to action is there because it gives that moment of kind of connection with the audience where they're paying more attention.
Yeah, and when you're looking at purchasing songs, a lot of sites, they have options to where you can buy the full version, a 15-second, a 30-second, or like a 60-second version. So if you just want to do a 30-second video, I'd probably recommend just getting the 30-second one rather than going in and try to chop up the song yourself.
Yeah.
How long do you want your like in that video, it had a lot of quick jump cuts.
Yes.
How quick do you want those? And then as a part two, do you notice like anything generational with older people saying that it just went by so quick, I couldn't see anything,
Yeah.
versus maybe younger people who don't mind that?
I think this one's kind of a different example because like, their vibe, if you will, is very much like, look at all these cool things, bam, bam, bam. But whereas if we were showing someone a home that they would want to purchase, I would suggest a lot slower transitions and a lot chiller music, right? It's not the like bombastic, look at all this stuff. So does that answer your question? That was a very roundabout answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to speak on that, this was for like an actual TV ad that we only had 45 seconds, so we kind of
Yes.
tried, but we do have extended versions to use on social media. And what we'll do is we'll kind of break, because you're not gonna, typically I wouldn't say you would sell a house in like a week. You would want to get more than just one video. So like, when you first list it, you can do the overall video, and then the next one you can do just the kitchen area or just the bathrooms, etc.
And this was to get people to like go to events. It was a hype video, that like, come to this event, oh wow, so cool. Whereas I would definitely suggest slowing that down if we're showing a house.
And with this one, we did mix video and photography as well, because that's just a still photo.
So putting it all together, we wanted to show you a video that isn't necessarily a house video to kind of talk about looking back on the things that we've talked about. We've talked about getting your interviewees to speak clearly. We want the music to be right, the transitions to be nice, the natural light to be there. So this is a product video that we shot for Esther Price Chocolates. And we want to kind of play it for you and then kind of get your input on what you think about it. Basically, do you see what we've been talking about in this video, or are there areas that you don't agree with? So just kind of putting together what we've talked about in this video. If it plays.
Esther Price started in 1926. In 92 years, we've grown to 7 Esther Price stores and are sold in over 500 grocery stores, with our top 10 stores producing over $100,000 in sales.
I want to walk you through real quickly, kind of how this video came to be. Like if you, for instance, are doing a very important video, you can hire a voice actor for $40. It's not expensive. Like for instance, voices.com, you can say, I've got the script that I want, and my budget is $30, my budget is $20, and get somebody to read it in a voice that is video ready. For instance, with this one, I think this only cost us like $50, and it was someone who'd been doing voice acting for a long time. the criteria we gave them where we wanted this kind of like homey, down to earth, mom and pop shop feel to be in this voice. And we were able to get that for very low rates, as well as the music. Use Audio Jungle.
Yeah, probably.
Audio Jungle, once you play around in there, you'll find many commercial videos that brands as big as Walmart and Target use. Everyone's kind of picking our music from the same area, which is good because it's accessible to everybody. So this
probably costs like $50.
Yeah. So it's easy to do this in a way that looks professional and looks great and gives your audience the feel that this was something you spent a really long time on. Not that this wasn't something we spent a long time on, but the aspects of it are easy to do. We've got a lot of the same principles that we've talked about. When you see people's face, you want that natural light on them. We want to shoot them from interesting angles, not always just straight on. Showing the process behind the chocolate and really getting into the kind of wonderment wow feel that you get while you're in the store through the video. I want to show the technology of the wrapping robots and all that stuff. This is a screen that we made, and we'll show you on iMovie kind of how to put text on video and how to do that kind of a thing. Go on. Did you have a question?
We had a question from the chat room.
Sure.
And this might have actually been right before the video. What program do you use to get the call-outs? Adobe Premiere?
We use Adobe After Effects, but there are cheaper programs that you could do. That's part of the Adobe suite, which if they use Premiere, then they can get access to that one too.
Can you do the text in iMovie?
Yeah, you can do text in iMovie. It'll be not as customizable as it would be in After Effects if that's what they're going for. But the stuff we're going to show you is already pre-made stuff that's already designed to look good. So all you have to do is type in and it already has everything for you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you have any questions about the aspects of video that we've talked about so far? Just any of the transition versus music versus lighting versus all those things. All right, cool. We're going to move into kind of a tutorial on a listing video. And with this, we're using iMovie because it's something everybody has access to and it's free.
Yeah, and like if you have a Mac computer, then you have iMovie.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an iPhone, they actually have a mobile app where you can create a video on your phone as well. And if you have a PC, then what is it?
I believe you would have Windows Movie Maker already on your PC as well, which is going to be pretty transferable with the skills you'll learn in iMovie.
All right, so kick
Cool.
it to Kelsey.
Yeah. So how many of you have actually tried to edit any video or do anything like that in the past? Cool. Was it with iMovie or was it with a PC? Okay, cool. Is iMovie already up? Okay, cool. Great, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys it from the very beginning so we can just go ahead and start from scratch. We'll actually go ahead and go back a little bit. So this is the screen that you're going to see when you go into iMovie. It's under your applications when you're on a Mac, where if you're on a PC, you can find it under there as well. But you'll just go to Create New, and then you want to do a movie. And so this is the screen that you'll go ahead and see. Over here is where you're going to find your projects that you want to work on. You might start seeing like your different houses or different things like that. Import media is where you're going to go ahead and get your footage in that you've already shot. This area right here is where you're going to preview your movie, and then down here is where we're actually going to be editing. So the first thing you're going to go ahead and do is import your media. And then over here, you'll go ahead and see your import screen. Ours is saved on our desktop, and this is stuff that we've already shot over at our office.
Pause, Kelsey. I think we've got a question.
Okay.
Actually, it's more just of a statement.
That's
Kelsey,
fair,
you're showing iMovie. This is also transferable to those who have iMovie on their iPhone or iPad,
Yeah,
right?
and
It's about the same.
Yeah, and so the app is going to be a little bit different on your smartphone. If you see these things, once we go through, you'll be really easy to like identify which parts are which. It just is a little bit more, I guess, just made for mobile. So you'll have to click on a little bit of different things, but I can go ahead and show that at the end. It'll be a quick like 1 minute thing. But yeah, so iMovie. So what you're going to go ahead and do, you have all of your stuff right here. We have a couple images and then we have some video footage. A good rule of thumb that I like to use is to always get more than you think you need, especially if you're taking a pan of a room. Your first few seconds might be kind of shaky while you get steady, so you're going to always want to take more than you can. So we're going to just go ahead and select a few of these. You can hold down the shift key while you select different things if you want to do multiple ones at a time. And then we're going to just go ahead and drag it down. I'll play this first clip for you guys to go ahead and see. This is kind of our thing, front of our office. There's me, so you probably wouldn't want to use this. But when you're in
the reflection
iMovie,
rule gets the best of us.
So I wanted to kind of start more right here. So I'm just dragging my cursor across it to preview it. So it's really easy to see where you want to start. And then I'm going to leave it right here because I want it just to maybe start where the building is. If I click there, it'll go ahead and keep that. And then you go ahead and click this clip, or I guess you can do that. And then you double click it and you can, oops, sorry, I usually use a mouse. And then you can drag it to where you want it to go. So you can go all the way over here, wherever you want to start it. I'm going to clip it until it just starts right here at the building. So when you play it, it'll go through here. And then when I get to the place where I want it, I just stop the video and then I can drag it back to where oops.
And tell them how you just did that undo real quick.
Oh,
Command Z.
Command Z is the undo button if you guys need to. I'm
Yeah, if
also
you mess up, just
yeah,
click
I'm also
Command Z, it'll
playing
go back.
the. Do I need to do anything? Do I need like double click or anything? So are you just holding it? Okay, cool. So yeah, so then you can just go ahead and drag it over. So then you have the nice clip of where you want to actually to show. And so like it's going really long for the building, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag it one more time to get it down to where I want to start. Doing that sort of thing. And then you can pause it where you'd like and go ahead and edit it. Whoop. And drag it down. Cool. So now that we have a couple of clips, I'm just going to go ahead and, if you don't like one, you just click on it. Once it has the yellow on it, that's going to show when you actually have it selected. And then you can delete it, you can add things back in. And then I just want to show you the photos. So what iMovie does as a general rule is they go ahead and start with, if you have a photo, they already put a filter on it, so it'll automatically zoom for you. So it already puts that motion in place. So once I drag down this clip, then it's going to do it for me just because that's what's built into iMovie. If you want to go ahead and make it longer, you just drag it and it'll lengthen that time out a little bit. You can make it shorter depending on your music, that sort of stuff. And then we'll go, does everyone feel comfortable that they could do that in iMovie? Okay, so then what I'll go ahead and start going next to is putting titles over your screens. I'm sorry?
Just a real one quick
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
question from online here. Amber asked, what program do you use to get the call outs? Adobe Premiere was the question. Did you already answer that? Oh, I'm sorry. Just kidding. Sorry, Amber. You're getting
Very similar
two questions here.
No worries.
That's what happens when you step out of the room.
So there's two different ways that you can go ahead and use this text, which is really nice because iMovie makes it so it's already going to look very clean when whatever you do. Again, with kind of the rules of thumb that we did, there's a lot of fun stuff on here. If you're making something for your teenage daughter's birthday party, you can use that stuff. But for a professional realtor sort of thing, you're going to want to kind of stick to this top part. These are already made. If you just put your cursor over it and go through it, it'll show you the motion. So you can see kind of how it's going to look as a preview. So I would stick to kind of these ones. It's going to be more professional. It's going to look sleek. It's already designed for you. And so you can just go ahead and drag. You can either do it over on top, and then you can go ahead and put your text in here. Or you can drag it down as like a beginning. And then you have it on a black screen. So you can go ahead and have your title here as an intro if you'd like, or you can have it over the top of your footage. I personally typically do to over footage just because it looks a little bit more professional, but it's totally up to you guys. Once you get in here, you can go ahead and click on your screen, double click, and then you can do whatever you want there. And you don't have to use everything. If you don't want the top part and the bottom part, you can just backspace those and then just keep the center. So iMovie already made it so that you guys can just already have something that looks good. Put your address in here.
And like any Word doc, you've got your
Yeah.
fonts and your size and your colors up there at the top.
Caption, and then maybe date listed or whatever you guys would like. So yeah, you just go through and you can do that. If you'd like to change anything about the text, you have all of your tools right here. Can you see that? Yeah. So if you'd like to maybe do a different font, if your company has a branded font that you want to use, you can go ahead and use whatever you'd like. Again, just to probably don't get too crazy with it, or if you'd like it to be larger, this is where all of that is located.
Looks like you can set the duration too.
Yeah. So if you want this to go across 2 clips, you just drag it like you do with all your other movie clips, and it can go like that. Or you can even, what's your right click? 2, cool. So there's also ways that you can go ahead and do it through here. You can trim it to the playhead if you want to split things up. Like let's say that you have a clip where you want it to play like this part, and then you want to play this other part after a caption. You can do the right click, and you can split it, and it'll make it into 2 separate clips. You could click that again, and then maybe you want a freeze frame on this particular spot. So you can go ahead and go here to where you want to, click, and oh, it probably won't let me do it on the photo. There we go. So you just want to make sure you're, I'm not sure exactly what, wherever you're playing, you have it actually clicked, and that'll make it so that you can go ahead and do it. Add a freeze frame, and now you have a nice freeze frame if you needed anything. You could even delete the video if you wanted just that photo of it. So it's just kind of up to you what you would like. Great, so I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this. And does everyone feel comfortable that they could put text in a movie now? Okay, and so the last thing we're gonna do is audio. I didn't think that I would need music from here. So we're gonna go ahead and go with something that might be, do you think any of these are pretty?
Kendrick Lamar.
Put humble on there.
So is it getting these from your
Yeah.
Apple
Yeah.
iTunes?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what happens is in your audio, so presumably you guys have gone to a website. I would suggest Audio Jungle. That's going to be the cheapest one you can find. It's going to be $12 music up to $50 music. When you get into premium beats and those sort of places, they're going to probably be more around like 50 to 100. So it's kind of the quality, but you can find really good stuff out there.
Yeah, and you can sort music from like genre to like the mood, whether you want it uplifting or adventurous.
Yeah.
Yep, to beats per minute. Like if you're
Yeah.
feeling like you want something that transitions like this, you can like literally be like, oh, this is so many beats
And
per
now that I'm
minute.
thinking about it, actually, iMovie should have a GarageBand already built into it. So what I just did is on the left side, I navigated to sound effects right here. And then when you go to this drop down right here, you'll see all of these different things that are built into your Mac that are going to already be royalty free, so you can use it in YouTube videos or whatever you want. But there is actually an area for ambience. And so we actually have some audio here. So you could do some of this stuff, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some for theme music. Perfect. So obviously you don't want to do one that loud, but I think this simple one might work. Let's say you wanted to do that. You can just drag it down below where it says the music icon, and then you have it here. And then this line, once you hover over it, that is where you adjust the volume level. So if you want it nice and soft during your interview, you can go ahead and adjust it there. And then let's say you want it to cut out, you just move your cursor over there, do our right click, and then you can split it. And now, oh. Yep. And then you can go ahead and split it and then raise it up wherever you'd like. If you go from a transition, and then you have it up a little bit more, which was your question about it. We could drop it down as much as you want, raise it up. And then if you want a nice soft fade in, this little button right here, that's a little circle. Once you click and drag that, oops, there it is, it's going to make the fade happen. And you can, it kind of shows you right there, but, and you can do that as much as you want, as little as you want.
And that's
just
how
to make
you can fade it out as well to get your call to action. more
Yeah,
of
just
like
to make it a little bit
centerpiece.
smoother. So let's say that I wanted it to end right here. I'm going to go ahead and split this up because I don't need the rest of this, and I'm going to delete it. But I could also adjust it just by dragging. So if I want it just right there, there's a couple different things you can do. Once you get more comfortable with it, then you can kind of start doing whatever works best for you. So then we have our video with the beginning.
Can you show them how to get the audio off of the clip? So our footage of our
Yeah.
office obviously
Yeah,
has
so-
some wind or whatever.
Yeah, so if there's ambient music that you like I like we have some birds chirping, really sets the mood a little bit. But if you have a bunch of people talking in the office building or something, you can go ahead and do your right click, and detach audio is one of the options. And once you do that, you can select this and delete it. And so now you no longer have that old audio on it, or you can just turn it down. So I have, right now it's at 100%, which is default. Let's say that it's, again, really noisy, but you don't want it to be completely blank if you don't have any music. Then we'll just lower it down a little bit. Or if it's somebody talking and they have a very soft voice, you can raise that up to 400 or 4 times what it was. But then in that case, you probably want to have music in the background just to kind of soften it up a bit.
He's got a question.
You may have already mentioned this and I missed it, but I can see where you can ramp it up when you begins. But if in the middle of the video, if somebody comes in and starts talking, can you ramp it down?
Yeah, so I believe what, I'm pretty sure iMovie is by default will fade them together. So let's say that somebody's talking at this beginning level, let's really turn it down. Yeah, and then that's all it does. And so you would just move this volume down after you've split it up, and then you can move this one wherever you want for however high you'd like.
Another quick question from online. Could you all talk about, obviously iMovie for people with Apple devices, they would have that. For people with Android devices, any ideas on how, if they were going to create video on their own, what they could use?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on an Android phone, I'm not sure exactly what applications are out there, but they're going to be very similar. You're going to have your import option, which is where you're going to get your video from, and then you're going to have your editing area, which is this. You're going to be able to, most programs you'll be able to drag for your timing, which will be pretty standard, and then adding music is going to be the same. All of them should be able to split clips by right-clicking, or if it's on a phone, you'll probably be able to click the clip and choose your option after that, which might be a good segment into going to our iPhones. And I don't know if you guys want to check right now if you do have an iPhone or not, but it comes standard on your phones if you haven't deleted it. So
I would suggest doing this on a desktop though, if you have one
Yeah.
handy, just
Yeah.
because it's so much easier to see, like the little tick marks of the music. It's a lot harder to do on your phone. It's very doable on a phone, but I definitely suggest doing it on a computer.
yeah, definitely if you guys can, but it seems like the Realtor life is a little crazy and hectic and all over the place. So if you ever need to, just in a pinch, it's there. So, hey.
I have an Android, and you can use Power Director,
Oh, cool.
Magisto, and Videolicious.
Nice.
But Videolicious, Magisto, and Power Director. But I don't recommend doing it on your phone, too.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and if, let's say you have a PC, it's always helpful to use your friend Google. What I always do when, searching for best products, I always type in, okay, so, free video software or top video software 2018. Like I always use the current year. That way you're getting the latest reviews and you're getting the most up-to-date products. And read reviews as well.
Right. So let's say that we have our video to where we want, we think it looks good, then we're going to go ahead and save it. So we're going to go, or let's say that you take more footage because you need to. You can always navigate back to wherever you need to be. This is your kind of sub-navigation bar, so I would go back to my media. This little down arrow is going to be where you can import more stuff if you go back out and decide you need another shot of something. But once I'm all done, I can go ahead and go to File, which is up here right beside the iMovie, and then Share is where you want to go. You can also access this from this far right-hand corner, and it'll be a little bit more just, it'll be icons so you can go ahead and see. It all leads to the same place. And you would just, I would suggest exporting as a file. I haven't personally tried doing to Facebook or YouTube or that sort of stuff, but you have more control if you export it as a file and then upload by yourself onto those other things for captions or links and that sort of stuff. So you go ahead and click File, and you just title it whatever you'd like. 1080p is going to be your highest quality that you can do. For Facebook, if you want a smaller file, you can do 720, but 1080p would probably be a good idea because you never know where you're going to use it at.
And the P is for pixels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as it's not an hour-long video, you should have no problem saving it at the highest frame or highest quality of 1080p and not having any issues on like how big the file is. Because we do have, after this, we do have specs on Facebook and Instagram what their video requirements are.
And then you would just click Next, and this will show you where you are, wherever you want to save it. So I'm going to save it back into the YPNU iMovie shots, and click Save, and then it'll go ahead and export it for you. And over in this right-hand corner, you'll see this little circle, and it'll start filling in once it exports, and once it does, it'll let you know, and it starts filling in the pie, and then you'll be all set.
Now, Kelsey, if they don't save and they X out of this, will this still be here when they reopen the program?
So what's interesting about iMovie, which I haven't really decided if I like it or not, is you don't actually have to, you can't really find the file if you go look for it. So let's say that you made a really great video and your friend says, hey, send me that file so I can drag and drop in my own stuff. You're not going to be able to do that. But that means that you don't ever really have to save anything because it's all going to be, let's say, home example. So I just click back to projects, so it's going to be here. So whenever you open iMovie, all of these are going to be here for you to see. So if you ever want, like let's say you really liked a certain video, you can always go down to the bottom of it, and it'll have these little ellipses right here, and you could duplicate it. And let's say you wanted to just redo that video, but like,
It's a different home.
yeah, home with a garden or something. Like you need to add something, but you want that original video. You can get back in it, and it'll have it all saved right there for you. So it'll make it really easier if you have like text that you really like, and you've already done a bunch of alterations to it.
Will you go over the transitions too?
Yeah, so you can go, let's go back into our original one. It's kind of fun once you get into iMovie, you're going to start playing around with a bunch of it. But up here, the last one that I don't think we've touched on, or I guess the last two, are backgrounds and transitions. These are going to be a little bit more fun and
Whimsical.
kitschy a little bit, yeah, but I mean, some of them might have their place for when you want, like if one of your color brands is orange, you basically can just drop these down, and now you have this nice background. Or maybe you're shooting at a, I don't know, construction site or something, you want something industrial, and then you can just navigate to your titles and put these over it like we did with the videos, but now you have a nice orange background on it. So there's going to be backgrounds like that, and then we have transitions. Typically, you won't really need transitions for the stuff that you're doing because it might just make it look a little unprofessional, but all of them have their time and place for them. I would avoid kind of these like spins and like, just kind of stuff like that. Cross blur is always a nice one though. That one feels a little bit more luxurious. Cross dissolve is nice. So all you do is you go ahead and click these, and you just drag them between your clips. iMovie makes it super easy, or whatever application you're using. I'm sure they have something very similar. And now you have a nice little fade through it. Let's see if it plays better that second time. Oh, this is our still frame. Yeah. So you can use a bunch of these. Fade to black is usually pretty nice at the end when you're all done. And so it doesn't have to be in between clips. You could use one to start, or you could use one to finish as well. So if you had something here, then you want to fade to black at the end, then that's what you would do. Yeah, does anyone else have any questions on things maybe they've seen before or not?
So I appreciate you letting us know like what would be considered more professional versus less professional. So my question on that was on the music, because the iMovie had stock music we can use, and then you recommended Audio Jungle, or maybe even it was Premium Beats.
Yep.
What would be the different applications for using something other than stock, which is free, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, like, when do you use Audio Jungle?
Yeah, the one issue you'll probably run into with free music is you can find it, but it's going to be how they want you to license it. So a place that I used to use is, I can't remember what it's called, but if you just Google royalty-free music, you'll find websites. They're not going to be as well done, but if you're just background music, they're not even going to hear very much anyway. So I would just do a quick Google, and you'll find some websites that say that they're already royalty-free, or
However, sometimes when you do a video, it's worth the the $5, the $6 to have music that just feels, because you can tell that this is stock when you hear it, right? You immediately say like elevator music, stock. So sometimes it's worth it. We've tried to give you as many free options as possible, so that if you want to splurge on something like good music, it makes sense and it really impacts your video.
if you're on a super strict budget, I just remembered it. It's called bensounds.com. That's going to be a royalty-free website, but you do have to credit them in your text. And so that's kind of where you get the trade-off. That's what makes it a little bit more professional. You have a nicer looking video without any of those credits like bensounds.com. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Any other questions just on editing videos, whether it's in, like an iMovie or more complex program?
Just very quickly, in case you didn't mention it, YouTube also has a number of free music tracks, royalty free.
Cool. Mm-hmm. And then just if you do buy a music track, just make sure before you buy it, it'll say if it has any random royalty needs with it.
Oh, and
Some
that's
of
a
them
good
do.
point too. If you find you want a piece of music and maybe it's a little bit more expensive, you always can download like a preview of it so that you can put it on your video and be like, oh, this is actually what I want, versus buying it and realizing this doesn't work at all. It'll just say like, it'll have the music, then say premium beats, and then have the music, just so that you guys can go ahead and sample it.
Yeah, it's almost like what stock photography does
Yeah.
before you purchase it, where it says like Shutterstock on top of
Yeah.
it.
And there's no music that you can get that you can just plop in and it immediately fits everything that you've done. You're always going to have to kind of shorten or lengthen your clips to kind of make sense with the music.
Great. Well, thanks.
So now we're going to move into just kind of looking at some different specs for the different social medias. We talked in our social media class about how video is one of the best ways to get your name out there and get people engaged. And so we want to talk through some specs.
Okay, so with Instagram, they have 3 different types of video sizes that you can use. They have the square, which is the typical one. They have the vertical, which is the one that takes up the whole screen. And then they have the horizontal, which kind of creates the widescreen look where you have the either black or white top and bottom. Now with Instagram, the videos can not be longer than 60 seconds with a maximum file size of 4 gigs, which that's going to be pretty hard to exceed.
The one that we did was 77 megabytes, so we could have done 3 more gigs.
Yeah, so you're rarely gonna, I don't know if you can go over 4 gigabytes with a 60-second video. But right here is an image showcasing the 3 different sizes. Obviously, the typical size is going to be the square. I've seen a lot of recent data that the vertical and square do far better as far as viewing the entire video versus the horizontal. And so with Facebook, they have 2 video types. And it's almost 3, but they have the portrait and then the landscape. So the portrait is going to be the bigger, taller video, and then the landscape is the widescreen. And with Facebook, the data says by far the portrait does better as far as watching the whole video. And they have a much bigger time frame, no longer than 240 minutes with a maximum file size of 4 gigabytes. So that's where you might meet, if you, I don't know what type of video you would do that would be that long for Facebook, but you might hit the 4 gigabytes. And then for YouTube, I recommend putting all the video content you have on YouTube just as almost like a drive or a hub. And you don't have to make all your videos public either. You can actually like unlist them or make them private so only certain people can view it from a link. But with them, no longer than 12 hours and a maximum file size of 128 gigabytes.
Can you go into the aspect ratio 16:9?
Yeah, so the aspect ratio is the size of the screen that you're
Yeah.
viewing. So 16:9 is the horizontal, and then the 9:16 is the tall.
Is that inches?
It's just a ratio.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So now we have pretty much wrapped up video, but there are some cool stuff that you can do that are out now that can kind of enhance your video experience. Does anyone have a drone? You mentioned something, drone. What kind of drone do you?
It's a Mavic Pro.
That's what we have, the Spark, I believe. I think it's the Mavic Air.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
so fun.
And it just, like, even like those GA White videos that we shot, a lot of that was just us holding the drone. Because we noticed, when you try to fly it indoors, napkins blow off the table.
Yeah, don't fly it indoors.
Yeah,
Don't
so
even
you
try.
you can get pretty creative to where, like, we thought about having our videographer just wear rollerblades and just have the drone, and it creates the same effect.
Yeah.
And another thing is,
Sometimes you got to be creative, you know? You
Yeah.
just got to go for it.
and has anybody worked with a 360 camera? This to me is I think it's one of the most cool things that you can do.
Have you ever been on Google and you see like the restaurant or whatever, and then you click and then all of a sudden you see the entire restaurant from all angles? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's really cool if you just want to focus on one room at a time for social media. You can literally just obviously your phone, if you have an iPhone, you can do the panoramic where you do a circle, but you have to keep it level, you can't go up and down. I recommend just getting a 360 camera. They typically have a lens on each side and it shoots the whole thing. You just get out of the room, and the one we have, it's a Reoc, and you just open up your smartphone app, shoot, and then it takes a picture, and then when you upload it into Facebook, it automatically reads it as a 360 photo, and then you just post it, and then it creates a 3D image, and you can just be there on your phone and just go in a circle and see the entire room. And it works with video. That's a little trickier when you do the 360 video because you're either going to be seen the whole time, like they can just look down and see you, or you can just
We've
keep
done
it
it before,
still.
though. We did it in a crowded restaurant to show the atmosphere. So, we walked through it, and it was great because you could see all the people talking, you could see them ordering drinks, but if you look down, you could see our videographer's head. So, pick your poison, And it's just another one thing that you can do that just really ups the professionality of the things that you're putting out there.
Really quick, I just wanted to take a second because obviously we've gone over a lot of stuff today, and honestly, if you look online on Amazon, you can find a lot of these 360 cameras actually relatively inexpensive now. I mean, for $100, you can get something that you'd set in the middle of a coffee table in a living room and have it spin the whole living room and shoot you out a file that you could use on your website. Facebook is now recognizing 360-degree video, so if you have people who have their phone, they can take their phone and kind of do this number, and they can actually see all angles of a photo, which is a very interesting way to present a room in a house or commercial property, something like that. Additionally, Facebook is now doing 3D video. There's 3D cameras that are shooting multiple angles of videos that look really, really cool when people use them. One of the things that I would love to get out of this session and with our experts that we have here is how many of you have seen real estate agents using video on social media? every hand should hopefully be up. Video, like Ryan and them said at the beginning, is a fantastic way to engage people, to bring them in, to issue a call for action. Call me for a showing. Come see this property. Can't you see yourself in this house? It's a wonderful medium in which to have more interaction than just a photo. And so what I always get when people come and ask us, if I'm thinking about doing video, what should I do? Because the number one questions people ask are, how much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? Well, the answer is like saying, well, I want to go buy a new car. Okay, well, how much is it going to cost? And how long is it going to take for me to realize that I paid too much money for it? No, I'm kidding. But seriously, that's the questions that we get. And the answer is, in your pocket right now, you have one of the most powerful media devices on the planet. And that's your mobile phone. The cameras that are going into mobile phones nowadays are really rivaling those that people are using with big, large cameras for the projects that we're doing. So it's as expensive as you want it to be, but it can be as cheap and affordable as you want it to be. Additionally, people say, well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say on camera. Practice. Sit there with your phone, put it in front of you, go to the mirror, and take 30 seconds to say who you are, what you're doing. I see people doing everything from taking their camera, their phones, holding it up out in front of a house and saying, I'm outside of 123 Main Street. It's a beautiful day here in Dayton, Ohio. So thankful to be able to put a family in this home. Is that family going to be you? Check the address and the link above on this post so that you can see some pictures of the inside of that house. Out. 25 seconds, 20 seconds. Because again, the attention spans of people on social media are next to none. I remember at one point it was like you have 9 seconds to capture people. I'm sure now it's like 0.9 seconds before they're scrolling on to the next thing. But the other thing that Facebook does really, really well, because I think video engagement is still very strong on Facebook, is, Facebook changed their whole platform to where now when you watch a video, it's like you have no choice but to watch like the next 30 videos. It just kind of scrolls you up. And 2 hours later and you've watched 70 videos on, where the best Chinese food is, and you just like, where am I? You've been trapped in this video thing. Well, as you produce more video on your page, as you produce more video on your business page, your customers, your prospects, your leads, they're also going to be trapped in that video, that sequence. So imagine all the content that you can start creating. And it doesn't have to just be houses. We tell people all the time in orientation and other classes, you all are more than just selling houses and listing and buying houses. You're parts of your community. You're parts of the schools. Your kids are playing Little League. We tell people to be humans first. You're a realtor second. You're a human first. And it means that you have things going on in your life that are all content worthy. Saying that you're out on a Friday night supporting high school football. That's content. That's the ability to create that video. One thing I don't know if you guys touched on was Facebook Live. Facebook Live, a little bit more daunting for people because once it says go, you're kind of out there to your friends group. But I've seen some people, if you don't follow Lee Brown, out of North Carolina, Lee Brown does a fantastic job with live video. She had one that had like 300 people on it watching her make fruitcake. Every year she makes fruitcakes with bourbon in them, and she sends them to all her clients and friends. But the whole video was her making these fruitcakes. And there was like 300 people on there watching this woman make fruitcake. But the point is that's part of her brand. That's part of who she is, and it gets her a lot of business, a lot of deals, because people know she's who she is in her market. Another person that I would recommend is Philip Becker out of San Antonio with Becker Properties. I think Philip does a fantastic job with listing video presentations. They are always professionally done. The music is perfect. He's got a whole team. He actually has a whole van that goes out to the property, parks out in front of the house that says Becker Properties Video Team. So anybody driving past thinks, oh, wow, that's a legit listing agent right there. He's got his own video van. But they put a lot of time and effort. So again, you have the Rolls Royce when you want to talk about what you're doing with video, but you can also have just the phone in your hand, going around, shooting. The other thing I'll tell people that's super easy, client testimonials. As an industry, we don't always do well with capturing our client testimonials. We may get people to fill out reviews on Zillow. We may get people to fill out reviews on our websites, other Yelp, other places. But capture a video. If you have a couple or a family that you really helped get into that house, ask them for 30 seconds. And don't do it where you're just standing there with your phone vertically out in the front yard. Set some time, put them in their living room with the beautiful Christmas tree or whatever in the background, and let them talk for just about a minute. You can edit it. You can edit down what you want. But that's another great piece of video content to start creating, is those client testimonials. We always get asked, well, I don't know what to shoot. Well, there's tons of stuff that you can video. Clients, events around your town, your listings, obviously. There's so much that you can go out and create tomorrow. So I just wanted to say that so that you felt like you could walk away with some things that you could start doing tomorrow. I think that's important. Anything else from you guys about the content creation, about kind of some ideas?
Yeah, I would say, just to piggyback off of you, Facebook is always changing the algorithm. You probably have noticed that stuff that you post, even though you have 1,000 followers, it gets seen by like 20 people. They're definitely highlighting video, and you'll notice when you scroll through your feed, it looks like a photo, but it's a 10-second video because they're really highlighting that. So just getting that is gonna have your engagement stuff go way up. But also think about the people that are on those different platforms. Instagram has younger folks. Like, you wanna have funnier, maybe like stuff with music, just kind of like kitschy little things like that, more artistic. And then when you get to Facebook, that's gonna be an older audience. You're going to want to put like a fuller, more like intense video on Facebook than you would on Instagram. So just kind of little things like that too.
Well, in Snapchat, I think don't discount, Snapchat is where a lot of people are doing a lot of location stuff. You have the ability inside of Snapchat to kind of buy an area, so to speak, own an area. So let's say you're having an open house out in Settlers Walk, and anybody who comes into that area who's on Snapchat, they will be able to see, because you've kind of garnered that area, hey, this is a video coming out. So I have people, I think at the RE Bar Camp down in Nashville, an agent that was down there was talking about how for every open house that he does, he buys the like couple blocks around that house so that anybody driving by, walking around, they kind of can see, oh, hey, so-and-so's here putting on an open house. And he's had a lot of drop-ins with people out walking the dog or something, just come by and come into the open house, which again, they may not be looking to buy, but everybody's got a friend they want to be their neighbor until they're their neighbor.
And that's very cheap. That can be like $8. Like buying an area, kind of how we talked in our social media class, is not expensive. You can geo-target it down to a single soccer field if you want, and that can be like $2 for the entire day.
And keep in mind, folks, as we talk about all these concepts, the internet is both a wonderful and horrible thing, but it's a wonderful thing in the sense that you can Google a lot of these things and find hundreds of articles and blog posts about it. So if there's a concept that you're trying to look at, whether it's geo-targeting with Facebook, geo-targeting, looking into those algorithms, there's so much stuff that you can read and learn. And of course, these guys at Catapult are obviously a great resource for you to talk to. And of course, us down here at the association, of course, are here. One thing that was online that I did want to mention, one of our viewers said, and I don't know if you guys touched on it when I stepped out, Facebook puts a higher priority on video uploaded directly to Facebook. For a little while, people just posted in YouTube links, and Facebook started saying, hey, we really would rather you just put it on here on Facebook and don't worry about the YouTube guy. But so what a lot of people have done, and you guys may have recommendations, what I've always told people is do both. Capture the power of the Facebook algorithm by taking that file that they showed you how to export, go ahead and put it directly into Facebook, and then go ahead and put it over onto your YouTube channel. Because remember, Google owns YouTube, and you're going to get that SEO value that you guys talked about in the previous class. So that way you got two things working in two places. But just keep in mind that if you're going to upload to Facebook, go ahead and take that raw file, put it directly into Facebook, so that way Facebook says, okay, cool, this is a raw file, let me go ahead and crank it up in the feed. Another thing that people always ask is, I have a business page, I'm posting video there, nobody's watching it, what do I do? Well, your business page is only as strong as you are. So I always tell people, well, if you have a business page, you should also be sharing things over to your personal page. Because if you're fostering connections and organic relationships with friends and family and coworkers, they may not necessarily be just sitting on your business page looking at stuff. So go ahead and share that content over, and I guarantee you're going to dramatically see that kind of interaction and feedback go up. And plus, when they comment and like on it, you're going to see that, you're going to see Ryan commented on a video that Andrew posted, and you're going to start kind of generating some of that kind of organic talk. So,
For sure.
You're talking about videos and testimonials. Is anybody here familiar with Fiverr.com? Okay. If you can't get a video of your testimonial from your customers directly, but you can get a written testimonial, you can send that to Fiverr.com, and for $5 or maybe 10, you can get a real nice, exciting or not so exciting video of them repeating what your customer said. And if you want some examples, you can go on there, or you can go on my Facebook page, business page, and see that too.
yeah, Fiverr is a great website. I think you guys talked about it when we talked about logo and branding.
Yes.
That was a place. It's Fiverr .com. Oh, okay. It works either way. Okay, with 1 or 2 R's. But yeah, great place, great idea. The other thing, and I know Bob and Ryan, you may know this, one of the things that we here at the association have really been trying to do is putting captions on things. I don't know if you guys talked about that. Facebook has kind of said that a lot of their consumption comes from when people are out on the go. They're standing in line at the movies, they're standing in line at the grocery store, they're sitting there, they're kind of going through their phone. Well, they may not be able to turn the audio on. So if they're speaking inside of your videos, you want to go ahead and invest some time into putting captions on there so that people are just kind of sitting there with the volume down. If they can't listen to it, they can at least read it. And Bob, there's one that Apple has that's kind of built in. It's an Apple app. What's it called? You can't remember what it's called. It's called Captions, I think.
But if you load video into your YouTube page, you can actually export. It will auto-populate
Okay.
a caption.
Okay, Bob's saying that if you go ahead and upload it into YouTube, you can export that same video you just uploaded, and it will automatically put in a caption of the text and audio. Oh, okay. So the Apple one, if you have an iPhone, there's an app on your phone called Clips that you can put your video in, and it can generate that. But that's just another thing to think about if you're going to be doing the client testimonial videos, other things. The other thing that Becker, to go back to Philip Becker, he does really well. Him and his company do this thing called Margarita Mondays, where every Monday they go out for different margaritas around San Antonio, which if you've ever been to San Antonio, you could eat at a different Mexican restaurant literally every single day. So they go around to each of these once a week, and they rate these margaritas based on limes. So this margarita was good enough to be 3 limes. But this has garnered a huge following. Like, people legitimately watch his channel, not to shop real estate, but to see how good the food and the margaritas are at these restaurants. He's actually had restaurants, sponsor with him and partner with him to put these on. So again, it's kind of this passive brand insertion that he's doing there, where now he's got multiple people sharing multiple videos, and it's just really cool what he's kind of created. Yeah. So if nobody has any other questions, I think we're a little bit over time here, but I think some good stuff to kind of close things out here. Again, want to thank our folks at Caliber Home Loans for putting on YPNU this year. We're going to be back in the spring for the spring semester. We're going to have new content, new classes, new concepts. One of the things that Jennifer and Bob wanted me to remind everybody is that for the people that have viewed and been here, we're going to be posting all the video files from these 4 classes that we've had. Be posting those to our YouTube channel tomorrow, so we'll make sure everybody has access to those so they can watch back through the play on all those. Anything else? Yeah, and if you guys have anything that you guys would like to see, of course, let Amanda and Jennifer or myself know, hey, this is a content piece that we'd love to see, something that you're always hitting into. I mean, maybe you could do a whole class on drones. I mean, that's a whole class in of itself. It's got some really cool stuff with it. So don't be shy in telling us what you'd like to hear and see for the spring. But you've got your course of vowels that are in front of you. We'd also love to get the feedback from you guys. So without further ado, let's give the guys here. Hang on. No, wait. Oh, yeah. Obviously, thank you to all the other associations out there that partnered with us this year. That was really great. We really appreciate you guys supporting this. So without further ado, a round of applause to our Catapult folks for coming in this year. They're doing some really great stuff. So with that, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next year.